So who did anything with the anybody try or at least go see the eclipse?
We were socked in.
Oh no. Anyone
Yeah.
else? Like, I know it was beautiful. It was 2:30 in the morning, and it's like, okay, I usually have a hot flash or something at about that time.
Mhm.
So like woke my husband up. It's like, let's go outside. So it was really fun to do.
I
So
saw that on your Instagram.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying a round journal format. But it was the first time I had done that. No, I did not do this outside at 2:30 in the morning. No way. But it was super fun. Yeah, there were people who were out journaling with headlamps and doing that at 2:30 in the morning on the eclipse. I was super impressed. No, I'm like, no. That's totally not me. But anyone else do any nighttime journaling? It's pretty advanced.
I did do one. I did one of the moon, but it was the night before because we've been socked in for 2 weeks and it had been raining. And I looked out my window and thought, gosh, it's awfully bright out there. And I walked out and we had just the clouds parted and here was this big full moon. And or near full, it was like 99% or something like that. And so I took a photograph of it. So I didn't do it outside.
No,
but I
I
took a
wouldn't
photograph
have.
of it. And then I came inside and I looked up all the features of the moon, like the Sea of Tranquility, the Sea of Fertility, where Apollo 16 and 17 were, and all that. And I labeled my drawing. I drew it in my journal and labeled it all. Yeah. So
You should. Would you please share that on our Padlet?
I will. Sure, I will do that.
It just shows too, people, I get a lot of questions like, oh, is it okay to journal from a photograph? Of course it is.
Yeah.
Everything's okay. There's no rules. It's like, no, you can't make journaling something that has all these strict rules where it's like, oh, no, you have to stand outside for 2 hours at 2:30 in the morning and freeze your butt off. No, not gonna happen. So what an awesome way to do that. I love that
Yeah.
people did do that. Although, did anyone see that John Muir Laws had the wrong day?
Oh no.
How could you have the wrong date? It was all
He had everyone going out on Monday. He's like, oh my God,
Well,
let's
because
all
he
go
was
out. And a
actually,
whole bunch of people were online. They're like, and it's like,
it was
you know
that
what?
date, but it was at 12:30 in the morning.
No, he had he had 24 hours wrong. It was
Okay.
Tuesday. And but you know what? That's okay. But it was kind of fun because there was a whole bunch of people standing there going, okay, where's the eclipse? Not happening.
surprised nobody caught that because it was all over.
Actually, a whole bunch of people did catch it, but people don't go back online after they see one thing. So
Right.
I didn't see the thread that came down after, like, no, actually, it's actually tomorrow. But it's fun. At least I got to observe something. So let's get started because as I suspected, there's a lot fewer of us this time. So but that means it's kind of like good for you guys and not good for you guys because it means I'm gonna put a lot. You're gonna have to share. So I hope everyone has their Padlet called up as well because there's been some
let me do that.
great shares on Padlet.
Okay.
Really good stuff. And it's easier to see if you can toggle back and forth. That will really help enhance our session. And we'll call some of those out. So I think, so for this session, what I'm going to do is I have some visuals prepared. We're going to recap as I'd like to always do. And then I prepared some examples of live sketching. I did some examples of simple sketching using system that I think works really well, because this time, obviously, we're getting into actual drawing. So for those of you who are, let me flop back to gallery view for a minute. Raise your hand if you are completely new to sketching and drawing. Okay, good, good. 3, yeah, that's great, because that's a hard thing. And what I'm gonna, those of you who raised your hands, I'd like you to go first in the shares. And the reason is people who've already some of you were like, the reason is because those of you who have been doing it a while, you know, you might be further down the road of pencil miles, sketching miles. And I want those of us who are new to go first, so they don't feel like, no, I can't show mine, because none of us are born with this ability to draw. That's a complete fallacy. I hear it so often. Oh, my mother was an artist, but I didn't get the gene. Or, you know, no, it's a skill that we learn. It's like, did you get born knowing how to drive a car? Does everybody drive a car? Yeah. So you learn how. You start small and you work up. And drawing does take time. I want to say it took me, what did we see, like 4 or 5 years of solid work, to where I feel like I can draw something pretty well. But I'm still like, can I go out and see a bird for 30 seconds or less, 15 seconds, and can I draw that? No. So it's always a continuum. Can Jack Laws do that? Yes, because he's probably done that 1,000 times more than I have. And that's the key, right? He just has done it so much more than us. And some of us may never have time for that, like probably me. That's okay. So just remember not to yardstick yourself against professionals. And I call it yardstick. Maybe I think I'm going to change it. I started calling it yardsticking. I'm going to call it tape measuring. And I think I said this last time, because you don't want to take that tape measure and strangle yourself with it. Don't measure yourself against other people. And so, but I do want those who are like new to go first, so you don't feel like you're measure taping yourself against everybody else. So so I will show some videos that I did. I decided I couldn't do live videos this time. My camera packed it up. I have a new one on the way. I also don't have any lighting that works. All my technology died. But it worked better because I did some tutorials on an iPad that allows us to stop in the middle. And we're going to be able to like slow down and back up and go, okay, this is how you do it. Oh yeah, Deborah.
Hi, I'm sorry for this. I was in the hospital this week and had some surgery. Everything's fine. It's no biggie, but I can't find Padlet. I wonder,
Let me put the link. Hang on.
Yeah.
Just a second. Thank you for that. I should have put that anyway.
I've been looking for it here, but
if anyone else, let's see, has it, let's see, I just need to call up my Safari and do the whole Padlet thing.
Well, if you have downloaded the app, you can then just pull it up and it should be in your recent, if you've looked at it.
I just stuck it in the chat for people.
Thank you, because not everyone, so downloading apps, I know some people consider very invasive, so I'm sensitive to that. So if you haven't downloaded it, I'll put in the chat the direct browser link. There you go. Oh, thank you, Angel. Awesome. Good timing. Thank you. Because yeah, you can download an app, but apps also track your activities. So if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. You can just do it on a browser. So Deborah, I hope that helps for you too. So, and there's some great stuff. And I hope you're okay, Deborah.
oh, I'm fine. And actually, so sorry. I closed out, so I'm not seeing the Padlet And I missed what you said about it being,
So the chat, so just, you can download an app, but it lives on your computer permanently. And some people don't like that, I've been told. So there's an alternative to use it on your browser or native. So you
Right.
could do either.
I just don't see it in the chat, the link. In the
Oh,
chat.
let me do it again, because if you were not there, I don't know if you guys know, but if you go in and out, you don't see anything above the point where you came back in. So
So sorry.
no worries. So I'm going to share my presentation here, which isn't somehow showing up. Okay, so now technology is not my friend. Oh no, okay. Where are you? Okay. Oh,
I
interesting.
have it right here. I
Great.
just put it in again for us.
So the Zoom doesn't recognize, if you have something on full screen, it didn't recognize it. Okay, so here we go. Can you guys see the Journaling Jumpstart, our first page?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, wonderful. So I think it should be spotlighted for you guys. So what we're going to cover today, so I have to hit play, there we go, is week 2 and week 3. So week 2 was continuing questioning, visualizing, and week 3 is like, we're starting to draw to learn. And remember, we're not focused. This is not an art class. This is not a studio art class. So we'll keep on that. But first, I'm going to make you go back and we're going to review. I want to make sure that we are staying true to the keep a routine pledge. So I will make quiet time in my life. I will turn off phones and computers and TVs. And I will establish a routine time, even just 10 or 15 minutes, nearly every day to write in my journal. And I'm going to go to poll number 1 after just a moment. We're going to also do the anti-pretty page pledge. Remember that one?
Yay.
Yeah, it's so important. And I struggle too, as I have to say, the other day I was Friday, I'm writing in my journal. I'm thinking I have to draw something. It has to be a picture. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Journaling is perfect everyday drawing practice, not a perfect drawing every day. And it doesn't even have to be a drawing every day. So, and then another touchstone I wanted to make sure we do is to make sure we're seeing and not just looking. And that's the hardest thing, I think. So there I was Friday. I had a very short window because the appliance repairman was coming, and I'm sitting there and I was rushing things. I wrote in the journal and they're like, I need to draw something. But I wasn't really sitting there and seeing, I was looking for something. So I wasn't letting nature come to me. I was trying to force it to be something that it wasn't. And that was a great lesson. So we can all do that. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to go to poll number 1, and that didn't work. Can I do a poll without stopping the share? Apparently not. So I'm going to stop the share. And there we go. I can do my polls. Let's see. And I can share the results of the poll. So how did you do with your keeping a routine the last 2 weeks? Go ahead and answer. And then I should be able to share the poll at the end. So we've got great. We've got most people are saying not good, I'm struggling, which is completely understandable. Pretty good, middle of the road. It looks like a lot of you are struggling. And now we've got everyone voting. Wow, it's like neck and neck. Pretty good and not good. So that's important for us to realize that. So here's the results. I think that's really important to realize. Yeah, we all struggle. And yes, we are holding your feet to the fire, but I think that let's just keep that in mind, that it's really hard to keep a routine. However, that's really important to, if you want to make this a regular part of your life moving forward, we need to try to do this at least a few times a week. Do I do it every day? Usually not. The last few weeks, very busy, but I want to say 3 or 4 times I have managed to, so you can carve out that time. So moving forward, we are still working on our nature data, the 3 types. We're in the last phase of the written, and you guys have done a great job. Those of you has posted in the Padlet. We are adding the query why, which is my favorite query. So that's the key to what we're doing, because it's not just asking why, it's answering and going back and finding out those things we were like, oh my goodness, why is that happening? You know, why I loved was it, oh my goodness, who I should have written down, who asked why is it cooler usually in the mornings than the evening?
That was me.
Yay! I loved that. I was like,
Thank
oh my
you.
gosh, I never answered that, you know, myself. So let's delve into that. And so you can go down these rabbit holes, and those rabbit holes of curiosity, that intentional curiosity, is that's what lowers our blood pressures, what grows our brains, what makes this an incredible journey. It's not the pretty pictures, even though we love it, we love drawing it. It's that learning phase, like, oh my goodness, let's learn about that, because we're observing, we're questioning. Why is that? I mean, we've reached this point in our lives that did we ever question why we have that temperature gradient? How cool is that? So, and just building on that, John Muirlaw's simple prompts we all love. If you know them, you know, the I see, what are you seeing right now? Prompts are great for if you get stuck and you don't know what to do. Or I wonder, and that's the why, which we're working on week 2. So asking and answering questions. And then another little good one is just, it reminds me of, so if you're stuck, what does that shape remind you of, or that behavior, or that smell, or the sound? So I love that. So going back to this page, which has so many elements to it, the I see, what are you seeing? So that's why I love to do those lists. And you just add to them as you go throughout the day or the hour or whatever. What do you see? So what are you questioning? I wonder. And I still haven't found an answer to this. A few horse people have pretty much, I mean, I think it's mostly we know, but there's not a solid I know. It's like, we see this with wild equines, the zebras. They're walking along and they toss their heads and they flap their lips, and it's really goofy. Why are they doing this? Are they cooling themselves? What are they doing? Are they just being goofy? I don't know, but most horse people say they think it might be a cooling thing. But it was remarkable. And then it reminds me of, so you can see my little sticky figures, which I'll call out later. And the way this impalas run is distinctive. I said it was similar to the way llamas run, where they hold their necks straight out and they kind of bonk, 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 bonk. So if you know something like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of, that's a great way to record something. And it helps you remember and learn something. So the next part of what we did or what you did during this week was what we want to, on the written part of what you do. And I think this is super important. And I'm going to hold you to this, and we're going to talk about it a little bit at length, because I think it's really important for journaling, because I see this online a lot, and I really have to bite my tongue a lot, is I'll see people repeat facts, internet facts. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh no, that's not right. That's not right. And I don't want to cause someone to feel bad for posting, but it's like, no, we need to check our facts. So let's look at some of the things that nature journalers are prone to do that we need to watch out for. And my favorite quote, I think this was in the book, I know not anything more instructive than to register from time to time the difference between idea and reality. Which we have to think about that. Yeah, we do that. We're humans. So the narrative fallacy is an important one. So it's falling for a good story without questioning the provenance of that story. So go ahead and shout out verbally. Who has an example of this, where among naturalists, we often, we'll hear a good story and then we just repeat it without, like, did we actually check if that was true or not? Like lemmings, right? Lemmings,
Right.
It's not true.
Right.
Lemmings don't actually go in mass suicide and dive over cliffs. So who else knows of a narrative fallacy that gets repeated because it's a good story?
Well, I actually heard the daddy long legs one
Right.
several years ago, and I was at a biological field station, and another student, told us all that, and nobody questioned it at the time. It was funny. It was like in an actual biological setting, and
not even
the wildlife biology actually said that.
Wow. Yep.
And it wasn't years later that I learned that was completely untrue.
Exactly. And the internet makes it much harder because, oh my gosh, those get propagated like lemmings. That, if it's a good story, everyone shares it, even if it's not true. So I think that's like number one. So the other thing that's super hard to deal with is what is actually, it's within yourself. It's confirmation bias, seeking evidence simply to validate your own beliefs.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And for me,
the data fit your
say that.
purpose.
Yep,
You make
exactly.
the data fit your purpose. And when you make the data fit your purpose, if you have an idea of how you want it to turn out, you can make anything go that way.
Yes, it was. And I can't remember who said it. I quote it in the end notes in the book, is data are like people. If you torture it long enough, it'll tell you what you want to hear.
Right.
So for me, it was, my biggest moment was, we were in central Arizona. It was way during the reintroduction of the Mexican gray wolf. And I had convinced myself I saw wolf tracks, and because I wanted them to be wolf tracks.
Right.
And some tiny little voice back there was like, no, this isn't right. But after looking at the facts for a few weeks, I was able to come back and say, you know what, those weren't wolf tracks. They were probably dog tracks or a coyote or something. But it's really easy to fall into that. But happily, I can say that given that experience, decade later, we were in a place and saw what initially I was like, oh my gosh, I think those are jaguar tracks in southern Arizona. And I was like, no, I can't jump to that conclusion. But now looking back, we're 99% certain they were jaguar tracks. But I'm proud to say that I didn't jump to a conclusion, right? So I didn't confirm my bias myself. So anyone else have any examples of where you've done confirmation bias?
I have, and it's a similar story to yours, Roseanne. We took a hike up to the top of this mountain where they have a condor station lookout. And we, off in the distance, we saw, it was 2 or 3, and I think it was 2, but they were, just hunting. You could see they were just riding on the heat waves and looking down, and they were huge and they were beautiful. And I took photographs of them, and we were so excited because there's only supposed to be like 6 in this whole central coast of California, and we saw 2 of them. And I posted it on Facebook, and someone replied to me and says, well, I'm not an ornithologist, but I think those are I don't think those are condors. I think they're oh shoot.
Like turkey vultures, yeah.
Buzzards, yes.
Yeah.
But the large ones. And so what I did was I zoomed in and zoomed in and zoomed in with my camera on my photograph, and I could see it was missing the white
Oh,
under so
but
anyhow.
that's a great lesson, isn't it?
Oh,
But we do want to jump to something to be what we want it to be.
Yeah.
And there's just nothing wrong with that, but just as a naturalist, you're sort of held at higher standards for making sure we're right. And the words, I think, or I'm pretty sure, or it could be, when I read those words in a journal or a report, I actually really trust that person more than those who are 100% certain. Like, okay, that person knows when to step back and say, I don't have all that.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know is a really good answer.
One time I was out with
Hints.
a mentor of mine, and we were in an area where there was a lot of ravens, and we were driving along, and I said, oh, there's ravens, and he said, oh, guess again. And so it was a good lesson, because I just assumed, because of the fact that I was in that area, that there wouldn't be American crows. But in this particular area, there is a colony of American crows. So that was a good lesson for me.
Awesome. I love that. And yes, I think the longer you're a naturalist and an observer, the more danger there is of falling into confirmation bias. Because I think I feel like I do it more and more now because I have so much experience. And so it's really important to dial back and go, are you sure? Do you really know for sure? Let's look up those range maps. Let's make sure. And range maps are changing. I just got an email from someone who is way up in the northern Mojave Desert who have nesting verdins right now. And it's like, what? That's a Sonoran desert species. Are you sure? And it's like, yeah, they're expanding their ranges. So the range maps in Merlin might not reflect reality right now. So that's an interesting thing too.
Right.
How exciting too. So that brings us to the next one, which is not every expert is right. So as beginning naturalists, you are to be forgiven if you go to a talk by a ranger in XYZ park and that ranger says blah blah blah, and you're like, okay, and you write it down. You should listen to yourself too, and maybe double check things, because that expert may be repeating something they heard as someone else already just said. It was the narrative fallacy.
Right.
So just trust yourself to go find the facts. And finding facts is a really, really, really satisfying activity. I am a journalist from when I was just a teenager, I wanted to be a journalist. I was in journalism school when I was 18. And yeah, the fact checking was my favorite thing ever. That was before the internet. So we actually had to like work.
You had to go to the library.
We had
So,
to go to the
yeah.
library, this thing, yeah. And then, yeah, it was actually maybe in that sense, it was a little easier because you weren't having to sift through all the crap.
So I think when dealing with expert authority, like I've got some stories about that,
Mhm.
but in those, it's like you can have like two completely opposite feelings that should tip you off to look it up more. One is if, oh my God, that's such a cool story, it has to be true. Definitely try to see if it really is true.
Mhm.
Or if you get that uneasy feeling, is like, that doesn't make any sense. Because I remember when I was in college and I was really interested in evolutionary biology and stuff. And that was just like around the time where the iridium was found, that brought forth the theory that it was an asteroid impact that killed the dinosaurs.
Right.
And I had read in, books that were published just before that, and it was still like up for debate at that time. So you can get an idea of how old I am. But books before that talked about how dinosaurs were poorly adapted and died out. And I was like, well, that makes no sense, because until the moment they were poorly adapted, they were perfectly serviceable animals that existed for millions of years. So that just makes it just like made my head hurt. And
that's so true. And that actually leads to teleological explanations, doesn't it?
right, which is, it's like something you have to always be aware of, that pitfall in evolutionary biology, and kind of try to fight it off. But I think if an expert makes you like something doesn't compute, or something computes a little too much,
It's okay
like,
to question it.
especially maybe not really super
Yeah.
true.
So it's okay to go with what I want to say is go with that instinct. Go with
Also,
that.
also the kind of expert, because there's another fun story. So I took a dendrochronology class, and there's this guy that's kind of was the bane of my professor's existence, where, in dendrochronology, you go out and you take increment courses of trees, and you can piece together all kinds of interesting things based on the tree ring patterns.
Right.
There are ring patterns that go back thousands of years. And there's this guy that insists that certain like misshapen trees are trail trees that were made hundreds of years ago by Native Americans to point you to water or serve as, trail markers and stuff. And the thing is that also became into Boy Scout lore. So Boy Scouts would
Right.
make
I've heard that before.
Really?
And
I hadn't heard
trees
that.
are actually really,
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah.
they can't be hundreds of years old. And yet, he'd contact my professor wanting to talk to her about this.
Uh-huh.
He'd say, oh, well, I can go take an increment core of that tree for you if you want to learn more about it. And he was adamantly refusing to have the data taken that would actually give you concrete information about that tree.
And what was the denouement?
That is considered an expert by a lot of people,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like there's a difference between science and pseudoscience. And apparently, like, historically, there really were trail trees made by Native Americans, but
They were conflating the two.
right, because you can also have a tree that has a limb that juts out in a funny way because it was damaged in a storm or something.
Right. But again, that goes back to confirmation bias. Those people were finding evidence to support their beliefs based on not necessarily fact, but the way something appeared. So those are all great things to keep in mind. And we just touched on, so the teleological explanation is you're explaining something kind of, it's kind of from the seat of your pants. So you'll go like, oh, and and I want you to share if you have any others, but the examples we have is like, oh, the kingfisher bill is shaped this way because they catch fish. Well, but maybe not. Maybe it was because they build burrows by excavating and they needed a thick, long bill. Doesn't have anything to do with catching fish. So there are plenty of other explanations, but we just have to be careful that we, in our journals, when we're making observations, that we pose questions. We don't pose facts if we don't know them. So we don't want to try to explain things unless we have a big, long, there's like many years of study involved, which you can do. There isn't any reason why nature journaling can't mean that you don't undertake your own natural history study and come up with the answer, but it takes a lot of time. So we don't want to just go by the seat of our pants. And then my favorite is correlating versus causation. So just because I saw so this is an example I used because this is from my place, from the Sonoran Desert. People will see purple martins using saguaro cactus hole nests, and they think, oh, the martins, they made the nest. Well, no, actually they're abandoned woodpecker nests. So just because I saw a purple martin in that nest doesn't mean the purple martin made that nest. So lots of other examples of that, millions of examples of that. So those are just really interesting but really, really important things I like to teach in nature journaling, that we make sure that we are very careful with how we utilize facts. And it's actually really, really gratifying to say, I don't know, and then go find out. And to not jump to conclusions like correlating something that isn't true. Likewise, though, I would put out there, we should be very careful not to be know-it-alls and correct others. That's not our place. I'm like at that point where you don't want to be a didactic know-it-all. And on Instagram, there's a person I follow who's been posting, I don't know, he's now on 6 or 7 posts about this mountain lion tracks he's been seeing on his hike, and he's really high profile. And I can tell you from the tracks, it's a dog. It's a large dog, probably in his neighborhood. It's not a mountain lion, but I'm not about to be the one to go on and correct him.
Pop his balloon.
I know. So we have to be careful with that too. It's hard. I'm like, it's like fingernails on the blackboard. I'm like, it's not a mountain.
Maybe it would be prudent to go ahead and private message on, through the Instagram.
I know. I thought about it and I thought about it and I thought, he doesn't know who I am.
It's important that you do. Do it in a nice way.
I'm just going to be that person. You know what? I also think he's already done his confirmation bias, and I'm not sure he would believe me.
Yeah, I think when you try to argue with someone that's embraced their wishful thinking like that, actually isn't. There's studies that show that makes it worse.
Yeah, they dig in and they dig in. And is that going to accomplish anything? Everybody's super excited about it. Why pop that balloon? So in that sense, it's okay. But I just want to be careful in my work that I don't do that. So, but it's really hard when I see that. It's like, oh, well, maybe sometime he'll see the dog make the track. But okay, let's take our next poll. I have to remember how to get to it. Let's see. Let's see. No, that's not it. I keep going to the wrong place. I just need my control panel. Give me my control panel. There we go. Okay, polls. All right, I'm going to go to the next poll. Tell me which of our fact pitfalls you feel like you are most Like, what's your nemesis? Which one do you feel like you're most likely to fall into? And it's okay to pick none, which is the last one, NA. If you feel like you're like, nope, I wouldn't do that. Everyone's like, oh my God.
Is everyone seeing the poll? Because I'm not.
I am.
Oh,
Try making all your windows appear. It might be a hidden window. Depending on your platform. Let's see, how do you make all windows appear? For me, it's hitting Control and the up arrow. You can make all the windows show up. So I've got
I'm on an Apple. I don't know if anybody else is.
yeah. So hit
Yeah.
hit your Control key and the up arrow, and if there's a second window showing, it'll bring them all up at once. And if not, I don't know why, because I've got 11 of 13 who are seeing the poll.
So yeah, just go ahead and, oh, I did finally find it between.
Okay.
Thank you. So sorry.
No worries. So it looks like 11. I'm going to wait for you to vote. So that should be 12 of 13. There we go, 12 of 13. And so it looks like we're kind of spread out. No, I think the majority say I'm comfortable. I'm not falling into these pitfalls, which is great. And we have kind of across the board then 2 narrative fallacy. Oh, let me just end poll and then share it so you can see. Narrative fallacy, 2, confirmation bias. Yay, nobody. Fact checking, believing, that's 1 person. 3 of 13 say that explaining things by their purpose rather than a cause. That's one's really hard. And then 5 of you are comfortable. That's awesome. So love it. So that's a really important part of what we do. I think that we're going to recap for a minute, then I want to stop this share and kind of touch base, but having the routine is, again, I'm going to just keep hammering on that because it's so important. Remembering what kind of data to record, feelings. I saw people in our Padlet platform, sharing platform. Great to see some personal stuff in there. Engaging all the senses, using those. I wonder. It reminds me of. And I just forgot the third one. I wonder
Why?
They're
I see.
wondering.
Yeah. The prompts from John Muir Laws. Asking questions is always my go-to. And then, oh, so hard because as I said, like Friday, I wasn't seeing. I was just looking because I was rushing. I was like, oh, I have to be back for the stupid repairman. Oh no. And that derailed my whole process. So it just hammered home that seeing and not just looking requires us to stop, engage, downshift, if you will, and be present in the moment. And I wasn't present in the moment there. It was really interesting, a great reminder. So let's go here. I'm going to stop the spotlight so we get a gallery view. And let's check in. So looking at Padlet is there's some great, oh, Deborah shared yours. Yay. Oh, I like that, Deborah. So just a reminder, you can double click the entries and then you get a full screen view. Check out everyone's entries. Thank you. We've got great purple hair streak entry and the mergansers and fantastic. So thank you all for sharing those. So be sure and go back. Oh, we've gotten quite a few uploads since I checked right before I started. So wonderful. I'm glad to see everyone's using that. Anyone want to share just some thoughts on, use the raise hand feature so we don't interrupt each other accidentally, but any thoughts on that first week of, well, it's like week 2 of where you are. Oops, I just lost the window. Wow, thanks Zoom. Let me just go find my Zoom. There we are. There you go. Okay, Daisy. And that Daisy and then Angel.
Well, one of the things I noticed was, even though I might not be sitting outside doing my nature journaling, is I've noticed I'm much more looking out the windows and just checking what's happening, seeing the wind blow and saying, oh, how hard is it blowing today? Oh, there are clouds. What kind of clouds? So, it's not all getting recorded in the journal, but and even like going out of the house to get in the car to go somewhere, I'm freezing for 10 seconds and just kind of checking out what's happening in the atmosphere. And that is a big change for me.
Wow. So that is, you are seeing, not just looking. So that's wonderful. So consider just tucking a little mini notebook in your bag or whatever with your keys and writing down what clouds there were, because it gets super interesting. Like the other day, I noticed a bunch of cirrus clouds, the really wispy mare's tails. And lo and behold, that night, a major storm blew in because they are often precursors. So if I had written that down in my journal, that would have been much more of a memorializing that fact, which is super cool. I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you for sharing that. Awesome. Did you post any of your pages on Padlet?
No.
Okay. Well, I hope you will. Gonna hold your feet to the fire a little.
Well, I have some to share. I just hadn't known about the Padlet thing.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's the links is there. If you'd like to share, we can do, do you have it in a way that you can share it?
Yeah, I have it in a PowerPoint. I also just have them on my desktop.
I would love to let me just make it so that you can screen share. How's that?
Okay.
Hang on. Wait a minute.
I can try.
I'm not seeing.
That's how you made her a co-host.
There we go. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now it says. Oh, there we go. This is usually the best way.
Awesome. Okay. Tell us what we're seeing. Which week are we seeing?
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, it makes sense to me. Anybody who hasn't seen it. This was just being out in my backyard. And we have a trellis that's the clematis climb up. So I was checking out that, oh, look, I thought the clematis was dead because it's getting colder here. I live in Oregon. But lo and behold, there were new blooms. And then I realized we have this little black spider had his little territory. He was walking back and forth, and that a bee was actually coming. And by bee, I mean, it's a flying insect that had stripes. So whether it's a bee, it wasn't a wasp but it was a flying insect. And the other one are these spiders that have been showing up. And this guy has this magnificent web right outside my front door. So I was intrigued with how long his anchoring strands were, and a bunch of questions about, how does he do all that? And then what else we have? This is like 3 days worth. And this is actually one of my questions for you, Roseanne. I tend to mentally label things, and I don't know if that's good or bad, but we have these little new bugs in our compost bin. And I just mentally decided they're weevils, and I put big question marks, and I know it's mentally I'm labeling it as this. But I didn't know, is that a good thing, or do I just write bug? Because somebody who knows about bugs is probably cringing right now.
Good question. I agree with you. I think that what probably I would have done is wrote weevil in quotes.
Okay.
And a little question mark. Is this really a weevil? I really don't know.
Yeah, because I'm not sure what qualifies as a weevil, but
I'm going to call it a weevil until I can look it up later. But you're right. That's a little bit of a version of the kind of just correlating something instead of.
Yeah,
actual
and
facts.
so I was trying to remind myself, okay, you're just mentally calling this until you really know what it is.
Exactly.
So I was noticing that they seem to like two ends of the compost bin as opposed to the other one. And, you know,
Ooh.
all these questions about, is it really because that one gets the sun first, or is it just, I'm just not seeing the ones on the other side? And it was cold that day, so I was not going to stand around and find out. And
Great questions.
yeah, but there were a lot of questions, but it was like, it was cold and getting dark. I'm like, no, I'm not. And I'm not bringing them in the house to find out.
You could do experiments, like if you're trying to figure out like if they like a certain type of food, you can maybe put different things in different locations and see if they gravitate toward
Whoa,
that.
there you
Yeah.
go. That's a
Yeah,
winter
I mean, yeah, I could. And
It's
you know,
like-
it was the thing I noticed that day. And then we had some leaves that I was taking a walk around the neighborhood, and those are a different shape than most of the leaves in the neighborhood. So I'm not sure, you know, the color is different than most of the other trees. So I did them. And then this was my mushroom map, because we've had lots of rain, totally not to scale, but a couple of different kinds of visible mushroom parts.
Nice. Oh, I
yeah.
love this. Such great. Okay, this is really a great example of just diving in and asking all these questions. It'll be really fun if you can do some experiments over the winter and see, are they weevils? Well, that'll be great. So collect one and try to do an ID with, get your microscope out. And then I've heard mushrooms were great all across much of the northwest.
Yeah, we are getting mushrooms in locations that we've never seen in our yard, and we've lived here for 9 years now, and it's like they're appearing. I think I just have one more because I don't take up. Yeah, and then I was watching birds at the feeder showing up, because we haven't had a lot of birds this year. And so these two pages where I was watching like every few hours, just like who's there now.
Nice. Oh, I like that. That's fun.
Yeah.
Great idea. Anyone who's kind of thinking of a project or way that you can journal. Yep. Just do it every 2 hours or even, 4 times a day. Just who's out there now. Oh my gosh. I love that. I love it. I love it. Okay.
Okay. And this is the last one, just because it was fun. This again was more of these mushrooms, and I did try to get measurements.
That's
and
scale. Don't forget scale. Yep.
Yeah, 24 centimeters. Yeah, and I'm realizing I've gotten rusty with the metrics, so I need to go back to that.
Yeah, 24.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I took a picture of it. I brought a ruler outside and measured. They were huge, and we've never noticed them before. And they're actually underneath ground cover. It amazed us how many there were.
Okay, that's cool.
So anyway, so those were just some of the ones, and that really was the last one. I have stopped sharing.
That was awesome. I love it, love it, love it. Thank you. See, isn't this exciting to see what everybody's doing? Okay, you're up next, Angel. Let's see. Spotlight. There we go.
All right. Hello. I just want to say that.
Do you want to share a screen or anything?
Sure. Mine's on Padlet. I uploaded that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It still says unmute myself, but there we go. Yeah, I just uploaded mine to Padlet when we started the session today. So do you want me to share my screen and show the Padlet that way? Or
sure, yeah, why not? If you can do that, that's pretty great advance. Let's see, I have to co-host you so you can do that. Okay.
Ready?
It's just great to see and hear from a few people, and then we'll move on to kind of the sketching part, which is this next chapter. But yeah, double click yours and make those big.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to one. But you can see the Padlet right now.
Yes.
Okay, so this is one of mine. So I'm a birder, and sometimes I'm pretty hardcore birder, of like going out and trying to do big days and that kind of thing. So slowing myself down has been amazing to actually stop and watch behaviors and kind of feel like just over the last few weeks, I've gotten to know birds and like know bird species better just by, just by spending time with them. So it's been a real treat for me as a birder to bird in a different way. So one day I went out and I'm in the Las Vegas area, and berry thrush are rare here. They come through summer migration. And so I went birding one day and brought my journal with me. And pretty much the first bird I saw after a robin was berry thrush. And so rather than walk around with my binoculars and camera and see as many species as I could, I stayed with this thrush for about an hour and a half. And what I realize now is I didn't write everything I could have noticed about the behavior, but I remember a lot of it. And so the experience of spending the time and journaling, it was on this the first one I saw was on this really neat vine that made this like strange figure 8 shape. So I kind of drew the vine because I thought it was pretty interesting. And then there was white mulberry nearby, and I picked up one of those leaves and kind of sketched it. And as I was drawing and writing, another berry thrush appeared. So that was really fun. That like this rare species, 2 of them appeared, and I watched them interacting with the leaves and eating bugs and that kind of thing. So it's pretty amazing.
Wow.
So, and I'm a writer more than anything. I've actually been writing as a profession before, so I'm very new to drawing and watercolor, and my pages are a little bit messy right now, but to me, that's kind of part of the fun.
Never apologize for your sketches. They're wonderful, and they enhance so much, but the writing is wonderful too. And all of it together is part of what we're doing. But what I love about what you said was slowing down. As a birder as well, I do recognize when I get too much into like seeing and then moving on and then seeing and moving on, instead of sitting there and letting things unfold and then focusing on that one thing for an hour and a half. How special is that to do? And learning so much about, why are they there? What are they doing? What plants are they utilizing? It's just an incredible experience, and that's really neat. And I never would have thought varied thrush in Las Vegas. Oh my goodness. Oh,
But they've become more in the last few years, talking about range expansion, and we're not sure why. In the last few years, there's been more showing up every winter, and even a few of them staying like overwintering here.
Yeah,
so something is happening with their range, and
I think I do know a lot of birds are expanding their ranges north, and especially up into the Mojave Desert. They're displacing some of the species that were there before. So there's just change, and it's great that you're recording that. I love it. Love it. Oh my goodness. This is fantastic. All right. So
I'm gonna stop my share.
yeah. So if you can stop share, then we'll. Great. Oh, this is great. So this is a good segue. Angel is kind of moving us into that next phase, which is it's like I made you like start sketching, and that can be these gesture sketches, or if you're really reticent to sketch, I suggested doing I call it draw like a paleo journaler, do just representations. So let's look at what that's going to look like. And so if you've never sketched before, stick figures are fine. They're wonderful. And they free you from the tyranny of that pretty perfect picture thing. And we'll look at some ideas for that. And then I'm going to show you some fun ways to actually start drawing something, including animals, and maybe definitely start with practicing on photos, but eventually you'll be able to draw landscapes and animals that you see, as long as they're not like moving too fast. And that's hard. Animals are super hard. So don't don't push yourself in a direction that's going to make you so crazy upset. Live animals are really hard. So let's keep moving here. Let's see, I need to share. There we go. All right, back to. All right, so as I said, we're moving on into the visual now. And the reason we go into the visual is not to torture you, because well, you could only journal by writing. Fabulous. That's great. But I think I hear from a lot of people that there's a real desire to want to add some visual element to our journals. And these are ways that you can do so. Drawing is a skill. It's not something you're born with. It's something you will build on. And the reason I do push people toward it is because it does grow your brain literally. The more you push your brain into a space that challenges it, it is absolutely a fallacy that, oh, you can only do that as a kid, oh, no, I'll never be able to do that. It's not true. Well into your late years, you will continue to grow neural pathways as you push your brain into new skills. You challenge your brain, drawing, you keep practicing those hard things, you will grow areas of your brain that become better at doing that. So it is absolutely true. That's science fact. I'm not making it up. But how do you start, right? You're not going to start out being able to sketch a live zebra like that. But you can do these fun, what we call like paleo journal, like do a stick figures, or try symbols. Like I see some great symbols in the Padlet are wonderful. And then again, going just lists are a form of it's not drawing, but it's kind of halfway between. It's symbolic of what you're seeing. So instead of writing something, just keep lists. And it's that bridge between I kind of see lists, stick figures, symbols, and more formal drawings as a continuum on a line. So just think about that. But look at this fun way. Yes, so Gargi did this wonderful representation. And she told me, of course, those drawings she meticulously did later back at home. It took her days and days and days, copied out of pictures. But in the field, she came up with these fun symbols. And so when she saw the J's, she put the symbols down. The J was alone. And it was, the little symbol was eating, let's see, what have we got? Alone and in a tree. And the wren was, that was alone and in a tree, where we have the robin was alone, but it was on the ground. Loved that. So come up with ways you can have these fun ways of representing. You don't have to draw the beautiful, perfect birds. You could just do a list and the little symbols. It was eating grass. Well, I'm not sure birds eat grass, but it was eating something in the grass. And it was in a group or chasing insects. It was flying. I loved it. Super fun. Her husband, Akshay, developed, and he gave this class at the recent Wild Wonder on how to develop your own boxy critters. And that's another way to say what I say is paleo journaling. Just do a representation of the animal. In this case, there was the serval, and it's a box with stick legs. And what he focused on was the pattern of the pelt, the stripy neck, the dots, stripes on the legs. Didn't stress out about drawing a perfect serval. Love it. Just wonderful. And here again, very representational, not trying to draw a perfect animal. Whatever this prey was, he just made a symbol of a prey. He didn't know what the prey was. Super fun. Over here, symbols of elephant, hippo, wildebeest. Didn't have to worry about perfect, pretty pictures, and created this really incredible dynamic of a day on the Serengeti. If he had been trying to do everything perfect representation, he would have been killing himself, wouldn't have had fun. This is a super fun way. Here's another super fun way, again, in the Serengeti. This is Akshay. He just did a symbol of the neck column of an ostrich. He did a symbol of an ostrich butt, which was super funny. You have to know Akshay to know that that's just very Akshay. So instead of trying to do a perfect landscape, this is more like a cartoon or a map-like landscape. See how stick figure-y this is? But it works, doesn't it? You didn't try to color the whole thing. I've never seen anyone do this fun idea of just one stripe for the color, because it was really fast that way. And then everything else was just left. What a fun idea. So this is just to remind you that there are tons of ways to explore pictures in your journal that are not these incredible botanical illustrations or animal illustrations that take weeks and weeks in a studio. That's not what we're trying to do. And it's super fun to explore all these ideas. So this is, I said chapter 1, I meant chapter 2. So we're going to check in with benchmarks here. Benchmarks are what I torture you with to find out where you're at on your, this is chapter 2. And let's see, oops. I just paused screen sharing. So I need to wow, I just messed everything up. So I'm going to stop the share. We're going to do our poll that way. Benchmark 1 for your second week is, I want to bug you about this. We're backtracking a little bit. I know I was talking about pictures, but we're checking in on where you're doing. So I'm sorry, we're backtracking a little bit. Don't forget metadata. I know we're getting sidetracked by pictures. How are you guys doing with metadata? I really hope most of you are saying yes, because I'm the metadata queen. I'm gonna bug you about metadata, because all this stuff is just like, it's so important to do metadata. If you do a beautiful picture, it doesn't matter if we don't know where it is and when. So yay, we've got one most of the time, the rest of you, yes, yay, thanks for being honest. That's fantastic. So I will share those results, but yay, well done. Those of you who I made co-host probably can't see the poll, or is that Robin
The
and
results, so we can't vote, but we
I
can see
see
the
it.
results.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me unmake you.
Yeah, I can see it says stop sharing, but I can't.
Yeah,
do
I
anything
know.
on
Let's
it.
see. So that would be Angel, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Let me unmake you. Let's see. Withdraw co-host. Okay, I'm withdrawing your co-host and Angel and Daisy, right?
Yes.
Yeah, let me do that so you can vote. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's just dumb that they won't let you vote. So Tina, yes, go ahead and speak.
I'm so glad you explained what you just explained a moment ago, because I wrote down in my week 2 on my area where it says notes to self, I wrote, not sure I got my symbol representation correct. So
Okay.
I was looking at the book, but I just, it wasn't coming together for me, just because maybe I wasn't really spending a ton of time trying to figure it out. So I just did a little bit of representation, but the way you described it, while you were describing it, I wrote down on my note page, do lists of birds, make symbols while you're birding, stick symbols. I mean, it makes so much sense because that's what happens. We're out in the field for me, and I want to draw it
Perfectly. Yep. Me too. I really fall into that. I'm like, no, it has to be a complete, I can't just do a birdie shape.
No, yeah, so thanks for explaining that. It makes so much more sense. I think moving forward, I can do that. And then the picture of the bird in my mind, or if I want to draw it a little better, come back to it with a picture
Yes.
or what have you. I'm big about taking photos of things too while I'm birding, so I can capture it later. But no, this is going to help me a lot. So thank you.
I'm so glad. I'm really, really glad to hear that. Because and I honestly, like, I'm at the front of the line when it comes to, I really want to draw everything. Doing those symbols, I have to put up the stop sign and go, okay, stop. I don't want to do that right now. I don't have time. So let's just do the circle with the head and the triangle for a birdie shape. And take notes on it has a black throat, it has a eye stripe, it has a this, just write down all the attributes, and then I can look up the bird later in my bird guides, and then I can go back, leave a space in your journal to draw the whole bird, the more representational bird. But in the field, if you just do that little paleo shape, pretend that works. And if that's the only thing I do, fabulous. It doesn't matter. So I like that. I'm glad to hear that. Tina, that worked for you. So
I'll just say one last thing is, I think if we approach it that way when we're actually birding in the field and things are moving very quickly, that it frees our mind to really pay attention more.
yeah, and that's a great phrase, freeing our mind, slowing down, paying attention. We can't, so multitasking is a devil. It's really great if you're a parent and you can juggle 20 things and you've got to juggle them. But to do something as mindful as nature journaling, multitasking is the killer on our process, because we can't do that many things and do our journal and get into the mindfulness. So you got to ramp back and shut down all those places that want to do it all at once. And I struggle with that all the time. It's that, and we're all female here mostly. I think I don't see everybody. I think we're the worst at needing to multitask, and we're good at it, most of us, and we got to shut it down sometimes, because it does kill the creative process, I think. So that's just my opinion. Learn to focus. So thank you, Tina, that was wonderful. So let's see. I want to spend quite a bit of time on the sketching part, because it's the thing that makes so many of us crazy. It took me years and years and years of practice, a lot of practice and work to get to where I'm happy with my sketches. Can you guys see my presentation again?
No.
Yeah, we can see you.
I need to reshare things because it's just not working. Okay, share screen. There we go. Now it should be working.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay,
Okay.
there's
Is it, say again, is that Akshay's page again?
yeah, it's the ostrich butt page.
Okay, great. So our next, like I said, so sketching. Those of you who are completely new to this, and we want to come back after this little session here and share what we've done and our struggles, is with a lot of work with kind of trying to find what worked for me. This kind of system I gleaned from Mark Terrell Holmes, who's actually an urban sketcher. And
Excuse me, we can't see your whole screen.
Yeah, there's a bar going across the title, so it's blocking the
okay.
view.
I wonder if, hang
What
on.
does the title say?
Capture, not copy. I mean, try to do a little detective work and figure out what it says, but the
Okay,
So
the-
you've got a, oops, I
we've
think.
got that.
Is
got
it a
the picture.
gray, is it a gray bar that's,
Yeah, we
Yes.
see your toolbar.
yep. Let me see if I can figure out how to get rid of that. I have to go back to my,
But we could see the whole picture that you were going to be showing us.
yeah, but
We don't
I
really
need
need
to
the
get,
title.
I need to get rid of the bars. So hold on. Oh, that's weird. Okay, I need to back all the way out. I've got some strange things going on here. Okay. I'm gonna have to shut all the way down with Zoom is completely acting up for me. So hold on just sorry. Huh, this is new to me, this weirdness. I'm going to shut down Keynote. There we go. I'm actually going to shut it down and start it back up because I've never had that for mine. I have had other people when we were doing Wild Wonder. I know what that problem is, but it shouldn't have been something that impacted me. I'm not using that system. So let's see. Okay. Let me try again because you didn't have that before, right? How's that?
We're back to the ostrich.
no, yeah, we're back to the ostrich and it looks good.
Great. Okay, that did it then. Wonderful. So I developed this kind of with some ideas from Mark Terrell Holmes, and I call it, I start with, we're not trying to do a photographic representation, scientific illustration. That is not why we're here. I had a great conversation last night at dinner with some fellow explorers in the Explorers Club. We had a dinner here in Tucson about what is art, what is field notes, and this idea that our notebooks is not a place to be doing this perfect art. We're capturing a feeling, an emotion, or a representation of an animal or a landscape. So throw out this idea that you're doing a perfect copy. I'm a perfectionist, so I understand those who are like, oh, I want it to be perfect. But remember the capture, not copy. And then I love to just try to get across that. First thing you want to do, and this is not something you would necessarily draw on your page, but in your mind with your eyeballs, find the big shapes. So maybe do a little thumbnail if it helps, but squint at the vision, whether it's an animal or a landscape, find some big shapes. And in this case, it's the big rock, the little rock, a foreground, and this middle ground. That's it. So I'm doing that in my brain. So big shapes. And then what I call little dots, and this was kind of a game changer for me and what I learned from Mark, is you index those shapes using little dots on your page because they're going to disappear or go away. And if you get it wrong the first time, it doesn't matter. And then you just keep adjusting your little dots until you connect the dots with lots of messy lines. And you don't notice, I mean, here you can see these spurious dots, but it doesn't matter because you really fill it in with dots and color, or excuse me, lines and color. So big shapes, little dots, messy lines. And then a couple of like little tips that really goes a long way. We all know that silly thing where you see the artist holding their thumb or their pencil or pen or whatever up. It actually works. And this is what they're doing. You're taking, so when I was sketching this building, and this is just a good example, my eyeballs might have told me, if I was looking at this because of a trick of the eye, my eye might have told me that this part of the building is skinnier than this part because this has a lot more light and less
Oh,
features.
yeah,
It looks bigger.
it
But
does.
let's take a look. They're the same. So by holding up my pen with my eye and marking a spot on it and then moving it over, I can see, oh my gosh, that's the same. So when I sketch it, I want to actually make sure it's the same width. So the way I do the feather, how do you make sure you get the length to the width correct when you're sketching that on your page? Well, I literally hold my pen or pencil up, mark the width, and then I count. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lengths to 1. It's 6 to 1. So when I sketch it on my notebook, I just make sure it's 6 to 1, whether it's slightly different scale. That's how I do it. And I map it with the little dots to make sure that I get that right. And if you were going to do this tree landscape, you might do the same. Map it out with little dots to get your proportions right. And I've got some videos prepared because my camera packed it up. So I prepared some videos, which actually worked pretty well because I used an iPad as well. So we can stop action and speed it up, and it's kind of fun. But this works on animals too. So this deer was actually laying at the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum. It's my favorite kind of animal. It's not moving. It's not flying away. She was just lying there being a deer, flicking her ears, but she was lying there so I could sketch a live deer. Yay. How did I do it? Really simple. It's the same concept. I can map her out with dots, right? Here's the height of her ears, and I'm going to show you in the, I did a live sketch of this so you can see. I measured these proportions and these simple shapes. There's just 1, 2, 3 triangles, a trapezoid, and 2 ovals. That's all there is to draw this deer. As soon as you can stop saying, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a deer, I'm so scared, you just let it go, and you're just doing a bunch of shapes. It's so much easier because you're letting go of that tyrannic part of your brain that gets scared, the tyrant in your brain that wants it to be perfect. So I'm going to demonstrate here. Here was the deer, and I sketched this on site. That was a live sketch. And but I'm recreating it here so you can see how it works. And the nice thing is, since we have limited time, is I can speed this up so you can see, and we can play this again. But I have lots of examples, so we'll have lots of a chance. So do a baseline sketch like down on the thing. Here I'm measuring, so I would hold that up. Yeah, from her ear to her bottom, she's about 3/4. So I estimated there, I'm estimating 3/4 of the length, and there I'm getting in the shapes, the 2 ovals, using pencils so you can go back. And sometimes I use purple pencil. Some people use blue pencil. I like purple. It shows up better. And I just don't like blue personally. But now I'm checking those dang ears on a mule deer. They're so huge. I was checking, okay, those ears are as tall. It's the same as the width of her neck. So I double check that. It's the same as the length of her nose. So again, getting the proportions right. And just the trapezoid of her neck. And now I'm filling in the parts that connect all those shapes. It's very messy. It's nothing perfect, but I'm capturing the essence of this mule deer. What she's actually doing, this is at the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum. She's actually listening to her keepers getting her food ready for the day, but but it was fun. So there you go. Let me pull that back so you can see. Really quick capture. In real life, that probably took less than, I want to say, well, definitely less than 10 minutes, probably between 5 and 7 minutes, because I was with friends and I was having to really rush. So really focusing on first find those shapes, make sure I check the proportions so I'm not creating the wrong proportions, because that'll kill a sketch. That's the first thing that'll kill a sketch, when you get your proportions wrong. So we're going to focus on that. And let's look at some other examples, and then we're going to come back and do some more too. And if you want to sketch along, go ahead right now. If you have it, any just pencil and paper handy, do your sketch here. First, what are the shapes you would pick out here? Let me just let you stare at this little darling hummingbird for a moment. What are the shapes you would pick? And let me give you a hint. There's only 3 plus the beak. So 3 shapes. What are-
Circle, oval, and triangle.
Excellent. Yep. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Kind of a circle oval-y thing, longer oval-y thing. And yep, triangle, definitely. Now, the next thing I would do, yep, draw in that beaky thing, but let me pause that for a second. Here, after sketching that beak, which is really critical, you get the beak wrong on a bird and it's all over. So I want to carefully make sure, okay, the beak length here. And I went ahead and drew that beak back for where we place the eye, which is a really critical thing on some birds, most birds, all birds pretty much. But that length of the beak, we want to note at this angle, is approximately just a tiny bit shy of the size of the head. And if you kind of pull it down, it's also fairly close to the width there. So how does that translate to a sketch? And this is really a messy sketch. This is on an iPad. I'm not an iPad expert, but it's just great to see how it can come together. The 3 shapes. I'm not worrying about being absolutely perfect. There's the beak. Check that size. I ran some little tiny dots down and made sure the eye was sitting up there. And then go ahead and throw in the branch it's sitting on, more or less, and get those little feet in there. And then start adding in the details, or the last thing you do. Connect the neck to the body. And these are nice fat lines just because it shows it, but make them nice and messy because he's kind of floofed out. So it's not a static thing. So nice and messy lines. In this particular case, I'm not worried about perfection on the feathers or anything. This is a super fast sketch. This was just less than 5 minutes. Just zoom, zoom, just boom, right there. Fixing the branch. I actually did it a little wrong, so I had to erase some of it. Fix that. And pretty much just besides fixing the bill there, move me out of the way there. That will get you a hummingbird super fast. This will work with just about anything. Then if I have time later or time while I'm in the field, I would do this maybe in really light pencil or really light lavender, and then go in with pen and refine it with a pen, and then maybe watercolor later, or skip the pen, go straight to watercolor over pencil, or not at all. Just go fully with pencil and do your details with pencil. So what are some other things we can do? I love this one. So is this a great photo or what? We lucked out in the high Arctic. We were in Utqiagvik, which used to be called Point Barrow or Barrow, Alaska, and we're exploring around and came upon this red fox hunting, and it was standing there. We realized, oh, it was listening. And my husband got out his camera. I did not sketch this live because it happened instantly. But my husband captured this photo because it caught the lemming and then it started playing with it. But what are the shapes that you would capture this with? This one's a little more shapes than the last one, but stare at that for a while and think. So I'm going to tell you, I found 6 major shapes plus a couple smaller shapes. So I'll show you what they are. Because one of the most important ones is this diamond shape to capture that head. And that anchors the whole sketch. Because I anchor the ear to the left and to the right. And then there's kind of this trapezoid of the body. And maybe on my paper, I wouldn't even necessarily do that line there. And another trapezoid. So 3 trapezoids, because that tail, I didn't quite get that shape right, but that's okay because you can fix that. You're just visualizing these shapes. And in this case, I would do the shapes with pencil as well. And then let's get the lemming, which is kind of a figure 8 thing. So what's the first thing we do? We anchor it, we index it, especially the height and probably the tail width with the dots. And how you do that, so one of the easiest ways on this one, and I'm doing this from a photo. Eventually you get to the point where you can do this live. And yeah, this animal's hopping around and throwing lemming and stuff. So yeah, this is not something you can quickly do live, but eventually your brain learns to see these things without you having to even hold up your hand. But I measure the tail. And so the fox is roughly 3 measures compared to that tail. And so I want to make sure I get that right. So I index that first and also where the tail ends. So then when I start sketching, I do the diamond shape, the ear shape, the trapezoids. I can play this again. I know this is really fast, but filling in the details. And you can see how I can quickly capture the essence of this fun fox photo, which eventually we can do live because we train ourselves to see this. We can look at that again real quick. Let's see. We'll pull that back. I have to catch it. There we go. So diamond shape, ear shapes, trapezoids, triangles. And you see how that nose is anchored in that kind of diamond shape. And then you kind of got that whole feeling of fox playing with his dinner, which he eventually swallowed. So super fun. Any questions thus far on this kind of concept of finding big shapes, getting them down, making sure you have your proportions with some measuring tools, and then sketching with messy lines?
Will the video be available to watch after? Because it went awfully fast. I had to start focusing on you instead of trying to. I first started trying to go along with you, and it's like, oh my god,
this one's pretty fast. Yeah, definitely available, so you can freeze it, and
okay,
the fox will be there, so you can see kind of what the process is of those shapes and why we anchored with those shapes, because those are important. So if I stop here, you can see where the trapezoids come together. Those are the anchor points for the arms. The diamond shape here was the anchor point for the nose. And then when we go in later and do the detail to get the fuzzy fur and everything, that nose is in the right place. The ears are in the right place. It's really easy to get the ears and the eyes in the wrong place on animals. So those anchor points are super important. Did this capture the essence of Fox playing with dinner? I think so.
Yes, it did.
And this was literally a less than 5-minute quick sketch. Super, but couldn't have done it without anchoring it first with some of those big shapes, which get hidden eventually by the sketches or by the color later. So super, super fun there. Can you apply this to other things? Yeah, landscapes is super easy on landscapes because landscapes don't move or go anywhere. Right. So here's a super fast one that I shared recently. Oops, I'm going to start that one over. So really fast, but it just shows you, and actually you're going to get to see some color on this one too as a teaser for 3 weeks hence. But again, index it with the dots. See, I'm doing dots, then start finding the big shapes. And in this case, it's just, oh, let me back it up so my hands. And this is why I like the iPad version, because the hand's not in the way. So big shapes. One, see the triangle shape there? The shape of the background. A simple shape right here to show these foreground trees. And then just the shape of the rock area. And that's all there was. And the water just fills in the gap. So I dotted it out after finding those shapes, and then and literally it's super messy. You see how messy those lines are. That's intentional. I like the messy look. A lot of people, oh, and part of your homework was to start trying these ideas of pulling out boxes and details and things. But the messiness frees you from the angst of perfection. So the liveliness, I feel like, is really wonderful. And then later when you add color, it all kind of comes together. So this is demonstrating zooming in on a detail. In this case, horsetail, equisetum. And then here's just a teaser for how color can quickly be added without a lot of fuss. Super quick, fun, and we'll cover this later in much more detail. But as you can see, that created a really fun landscape really quickly, focusing on these shapes, connecting the dots, really messy lines. Really, really fun way to do that. So now I'm going to make everybody, we're going to check in on homework again. Let's see. Yep. I'm going to stop share now. Let's see. Stop. Okay. And I'm going to go to gallery view too. And let's check in. Well, before I check in, let's do some more discussion on the beginning sketching, the contour sketching. You're just kind of how you're doing with, how are you feeling with it? And we're going to have the polls too, but let's hear. I saw in the Padlet that a lot of people were jumping into sketching already. Some people are comfortable with color. Anyone want to share thoughts?
I'll share a thought. I am struggling definitely with color, trying to put the idea of putting color. And I also fall into the trap of trying to make it look too precise.
Yes.
And so this has been very good because I've been wondering when I'm out in the field, how am I going to do this quickly? Because it's hard.
Yes.
So this has helped me immensely. Thank you.
Good, good. And remember, in the continuum of the book, we're not adding color right now. So anyone who's adding color, that's extracurricular and that's great, but we're not actually, it's a lot to add right now. But yes, I found it very, very hard to not want everything to be perfect representation, scientific illustration of what I'm seeing, and learning how to do the messy, quick sketches. It's actually harder than perfect drawing in a lot of cases. For a lot of us, quick sketching is harder because we have to let go. And, it takes some control to say, okay, I'm done, and move on. And not, I noticed that I ruin a lot of quick sketches by going back and noodling until all of a sudden, oh my God, I just did way too much. And so sometimes less is more. In fact, most of the time, less is more. So try to embrace that. Try to stop and then come back later. And you'll actually see that at the one where you stopped, you'll go, oh, I actually like that now. And give it some space, a day, even an hour, but a day is better. So wonderful. It's good to hear.
This is Deborah. I just wanted to make a quick comment about the dots. To me, that was really huge. It made such a difference, even more than the shapes did probably.
It's nice, isn't it? Like you can, then you're like, okay, now I know where to go. And I don't have to worry that I'm going to go all over.
And speaking of that, I found that drawing the boxes, if I put the dots in the corner, or maybe a couple across, then it helps my boxes from getting all
trapped, like wonky. Yep. I get that totally. I'm so glad. And I got that idea from Mark Taro Holmes, who did the dot thing for doing buildings when he's an urban sketcher. So he's doing perspective and all this difficult stuff. But I thought, wow, well, we could do that. And it just, who grew up with doing connect the dot color books? Yeah. So let's make our own. Nice. Thank you, Deborah. Let's see. Well, I think let's do some polls and then we can come back and do some more sharing. Let's see. Because now what we want to do is, so part of your homework was to start easy and start with leaves. And I saw a lot of great leaves. How did you do on your homework to do a leaf a day? And a leaf a day is great because it just gets your pen moving. And leaves are great because you can bring them inside and they don't fly away.
My thing disappeared. Let's see.
So try.
It was there and then it went away.
I think everybody's did.
Try looking like doing all windows, which for a Mac is.
I'm not on a Mac, I'm on a phone. Let's see.
Ooh, phone, I don't know how to do that.
I don't see that option. Let's see.
Yeah, on a phone, I don't know how to make all the windows. So
did it disappear to everybody else too? The survey?
Roseanne,
Everybody lost it.
Roseanne, this is Daisy. I think I may still be a co-host because
Okay.
I'm getting share results and end poll.
Oh,
and
you're right.
I don't have submit.
Got it. How about now?
I still don't have it.
I don't either.
I'm
Yeah.
on iPad and I don't see it either. And I
Huh.
did see
It
It was
disappeared.
there
from
and then
the
it just
screen for
disappeared.
me.
Okay,
Yeah.
let me see what's going on. Let me see if I can share it again.
Now, when you say a leaf a day, what if I go back and I had a really big leaf and then it took me 2 days to draw that leaf. So does that count as working on a leaf every day? Or what if I don't have 7 leaves,
It went
That's
away
what's going
again.
It went away again. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
know,
before
hang
you
on. Okay, let me,
Submit it. Yeah, you
I
can.
got a message that says the poll was closed before you submitted.
Yeah, I'm trying relaunching it. So let's try it again. And I've got, looks like most of you can vote, 11 out of 16, 13 out of 16. So it looks like only a few of you can't see it.
It came back for me. Yeah.
Okay. I had to relaunch, so. Okay, good. All right. So can you ask the question again? I was distracted by trying to figure out the poll.
Well, I answered the question with a no, but I did mostly every day work on a leaf. It might have gone back to the first leaf that I did the day before because it was such a complicated thing I was trying to figure out. For instance, the margin, it's a really widely serrated. Like I wouldn't really think of that as a serrated leaf. And so it's going and kind of diving down this rabbit hole of questions, and the drawings didn't all happen once per day. You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
I worked on a drawing every day, but it wasn't like 7 leaves for
Okay,
the week.
well, that's good. That doesn't really matter. It's mostly just the practice. So, and yes, so I noticed when I rush too much, even doing a simple leaf, if I don't carefully get the width right, if I don't measure, then it gets all wonky. And so that was an interesting thing. So leaves are great practice for getting your proportions right, getting your details right, diving into the wonderful little structure and studying, like, oh wait, did you ever stop to think, does every leaf have the same vein structure? Does every leaf, are some straight? Are they alternate? I just love that. So that's why I really wanted leaves, because it teaches you how to see and not just look. So.
And then I pulled out the 10 times loop, and there were all these little trichomes on the margin of that you couldn't see with your naked eye. I'm like, oh my God.
How deep can you go? How deep can you go? So did you try doing any like little zoom?
I did one. Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Love
do one.
it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love to hear that. So it looks like, oh no. So no, we didn't all get to do our daily leaf. So try to do some daily sketches. That was the whole point of kind of the, let's end and you can see the results. So the point of the daily was to just sort of re-emphasize that trying to do something every day or every other day. Because it is good in your earliest phases of making this part of a daily or a part of your life. This is when you get things locked in. This is when the start and stop thing is so hard, and trying to make it a regular thing despite how busy we are is really critical. So I will continue to kind of push that forward. So let's see, week 3. So
Can I say something, Roseanne?
of course, yeah.
I thought this time that I would do my metadata, like I'll do pages ahead of, the drawing of how my metadata box. And then I went all through the book, right? And I did the blank pages. And then I decided I wanted the metadata to look a little different. So it's a process of how, we come to what metadata we want. And, I'd find a different web weather thing that I like because it tells me everything, the moon phase, the sunrise, the sunset, whatever. And then I'd find some more symbols that I like. So it's been fun to really try to do that. But for me, working full time, it's nice to have just a little bit of the metadata done on pages ahead, as far as then I can just fill in.
Yeah.
But then
That's good.
Evolving. It's evolving how I want it to look. So, but I think I'm getting there. So.
Oh my gosh, it took me years to get to where I just am staying with mine. When I see some of your metadata, it's like I want to change mine, but I probably won't. But it's great, but it does take years before you kind of settle into what works for your brain. And I like that. I like it. So yay. Thank you for sharing that. Good. And it'll always evolve, so that's fantastic. So let's see, the next homework check-in is, now, did this pop up for you guys?
Yes, it did.
Okay, so this is your, did you practice the measuring when you're trying to draw a subject?
Not successfully.
It takes time.
I did try, but I
Good. Nope, that's all it's about is trying, is keep trying, because start with something static instead of something running.
got really confused with the dots. Got super, super, super confused with the dots.
Okay, we'll cover that. So we can go back to that, see.
I got confused with the dots too. So what you just did was super
Yeah.
helpful.
Okay, good. So it
It
looks like
Made sense.
most of you did try to do the measuring and the dot mapping, and then so I can hear, oops, let me just share the results. So, and then I'm hearing some of you were like, no, that I was confused about that. So
I tried, but so I answered yes, but wasn't successful.
so what was confusing about the dots? Just where to put them, or how to use them?
Yeah, exactly. And like with the feather, that was confusing for me for the measuring. It's like, if you know where it's supposed to go, then why would you need, I don't know. And I don't know. I guess I just don't know how to explain, because
No,
like
I
when
think
you did the landscape part.
okay, so I think I probably I didn't connect the dots well enough. So you do start with a measurement and say, so maybe we measure the width of the feather. And so you put those two dots. And then let's do the length. And so we would get that in and put a dot at the bottom and a dot at the top. And then just really slowly you would,
Oh, I see.
tiny little dots to, okay, is this right? Is this right? And then make a representation, and then you sort of look at it, goes, oh, no, I got that all wrong. Do some different dots. Like I did with the fox, I did the top of the ear and the bottom of the foot. But if I hadn't gotten that quite right, maybe move it a little bit as I did the tail. So you've got 3 points, the tail, the ear, the foot, and the tail. If I got those proportions wrong, I can move it. If I had drawn it all in pen first and I got the proportions wrong, meh, it's dead. But by doing little dots, I can just keep doing it until I get it right.
Mhm.
And then they don't show on your page. If you want to do watercolor, one of the things you don't want to do is erase a lot or even at all on watercolor paper. It ruins the tooth of the paper. And when you put watercolor onto the paper, it'll go gross, because erasing damages the paper. So that's why I recommend that you just use little dots, don't erase. You can a little bit using what's called kneadable erasers, if you just very carefully pick, but don't use those rubber erasers and anyway.
Right, okay.
I mean, experiment. You can see what happens if you scrub the paper really hard with a rubber eraser, and then you try to draw and then put paint on it. It flares across poorly, because you've disturbed the surface. They finish the paper a certain way. Anyway, that's why, and plus it's just faster just to do little dots. They disappear later, it doesn't matter. So anyone else like have any other takes on the dot thing, or that you found the dot thing difficult?
I just forget which dot is which thing.
Yeah, that's just practice. I will tell you, sometimes on a complex landscape, I'm like, oh crap, I just lost where the top was. Where am I going next? That's okay. That's why I make a couple of passes. So when I go in with pen and I'm connecting the dots, I'll do it pretty lightly at first, so I can feel my way. And then if I got it wrong, it's like, uh-oh, that dot didn't actually go there. When I go back on a heavier note, that's why I like the messy thing, because it doesn't really show later. It honestly doesn't. You might see it, but no one else is going to notice. If you're trying to do a scientific illustration, that's different. We're not doing that though. We're doing really gestury sketches, real gesture sketches. So let's look at, let's see. I think we have one more check-in. Oops, I'm sorry, the poll was still, let me close that so we can make sure that you can see. Okay, let's see. I think you have 2, 3. Oh, okay. Did you guys try like boxes, pullouts, zoom ins, different ways of representing things? They're kind of fun. I mean, really fun. It's kind of my favorite thing to do. Good. Looks like everybody tried to at least do one pullout.
Oops, it went away before I could do it. Okay.
Oh, sorry about that.
No big deal.
Did you try? Yes? No?
I did, yes.
Okay, cool. And then one last. Okay, and this is like, just, did you try anything more complex, like a landscape, which are kind of scary? Yes, we got some brave. No, and those are, fine. It's hard. We're just starting out. We're just trying to learn. Remember, you're studying this stuff to get to know it better. You're not trying to become a studio artist. You don't have a show coming up at a gallery in New York City. You're not trying to do this for anyone but yourself and your own enjoyment and study of nature. We're studying nature. The drawing, though, I don't want to poo-poo the drawing either. It's very much something we all want to strive for. We wouldn't be here because it's really makes you happy when you draw something and you look at it and you go, oh, that was fun. I really like that. And that's the goal with the book and the program is to get you at the end where you're like, oh my gosh, this is making me really happy. We don't want it to be something that makes you unhappy. So that's why we try to look for these tips and things to make it so that this is a joyful thing. And there isn't anything more fun than kind of trying to tackle sketching something. So that's kind of why we're pushing you there. I'm pushing you into the sketching. So there's a reason for that. And it's partly, it helps our brains grow, but helping your brains grow, it's also good for your mental well-being. This is an unprecedented time in our human existence for stressfulness, I think. The pandemic, politics, everything, the economy. Every time I open the paper, I get gripped. I get a stomach ache. I'm like, what bad news am I going to see today? Right? Going to our journals is our solace. And so I don't want to make it stressful for you. So if anybody is struggling, if you really want to draw and you're struggling, contact me. We'll do some private time. If you don't want to draw, don't worry about it. But I think a lot of us are here because that's this fantasy we have. It's like, I really want to be one of those people who can sketch in a journal. Mm-hmm. And you can. I couldn't do it. I showed you what mine looked like 10 years ago. I was doing little stick figures. So you can. It took work. I won't lie. It took work. And I did a lot of really funny sketches. Okay, so Tina, I'm going to spotlight you. Yes. Oh, I think you're
muted. I find the tips that you're giving us to be incredibly helpful because we tend to be hard on ourselves. I've been journaling now for about 1.5 years, but I find your class to be very helpful because when I'm out there now and I've been incorporating these tips and ideas and it is getting a little better, and it certainly helps my
Good.
mental state out there journaling. So, you know, we do this, you did it. We start, we want to make it beautiful, and we're missing the point. And that's,
Yeah, and it will, it is.
thank you for being
eventually
willing to share this.
Yeah, your brain and what you call beautiful will eventually come together. You know, I know we're too hard on ourselves right now. I'm horrible at it. So yeah, just be easy on yourself. It's joyful what we're doing. Don't stress on it. If you're feeling stressed, by all means, contact me. Let's chat, because this can't be a stressful thing. This can't be something that you dread doing. I want it to be something you're like, I'm so excited. It's almost the end of the day. I get to journal. Yay. In fact, you know, I'm going to go out this evening. I'm going to sit in my backyard. It might be a bunny rabbit, right? I don't care. It might be nothing or whatever, but I'll find some. And that's just what my goal is to make that a happy thing. So how about, let's see, I'm going to.
I just going to say, it's just being in nature that I've reached that point where I don't care if my drawing never gets to that level that I, you know, hope that it could get to, but it's good enough for me. And it's the point for me now is getting out in nature. It's just, I got to do it. You know,
Yeah.
That journaling has been wonderful for me.
That's the goal here. So like those of you who have your cameras on, show of hands, is this on the needle of stress? Let's say no stress. How are you? Like, raise your hand if it's only moderately stressful versus really stressful. Moderately stressful. And then anyone really stressful still? No, so we got one person stressful. That's okay. What do you feel like? What's the stressor that's holding you back, do you think? Oh, I think we froze. So anyone else want to share? Marilee, did you want to say, did you say you felt stressed still? Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. So anyone still feel kind of like this is a major stressor? Okay, do you want to, do you think you know why? Diane?
Okay, so for me, I'm struggling with the routine thing. I am, although some things in my life are in routine, like when I work out, it's always in the morning. And when do I practice my watercolor? It's in the afternoon. And I have never ever journaled my entire life. So this is hard. So it's hard for a couple reasons. One is when I'm in nature, like you guys tend to do things deliberately. You have your kid, you go walk out, see the birds. I kind of live in nature. So it's very, when I'm in nature, I have nothing with me. I have my bathing suit on and my purse is in the locker room, or, you know what I'm saying? So what I did was I had to make myself, I'm trying to make myself just write anything. So the hardest thing was, I mean, the easiest thing was metadata. So, but I didn't just want to just write metadata. So this is what I did. It was wherever I am and I have my book and I think about, oh my God, I need to journal. That's when it's going to happen. So the first day it was just the view out of my bedroom window.
Hey, that's perfect.
Every morning I look out the window and I check the weather. And I can tell a lot from my view. I can tell what the beach is going to be like somewhere else. So my question to myself was for that week, you know, does the ocean condition out my window, how same or different is it like in Waikiki, which is like, you know, several miles down. Then one day I was feeling guilty. I hadn't entered my journal, but my cleaners were upstairs and my cat,
Yay.
Otis, hides under my desk. So I just turned the chair around and I was drawing him in his little cat house. And I, started while I was writing, that he had been sick. And I found that just doing that made me actually feel less intimidated to share my thoughts. And then one day I didn't have my book, but I had my camera and I swim laps. And it was hilarious because I jumped out of my lane and this family of ducks jumped into the lane. Somebody was swimming in the next lane here. So I took a quick picture. I came home and I drew the ducks swimming, and I said, okay, I need to ask a question. And my question was, wow, I see them drinking chlorinated water. Is that healthy?
Oh my gosh. Okay, this is awesome.
And then several more days passed by and I went, oh my God, I didn't do my homework. So my husband is an orchid person. This is a terrible picture. Terrible.
No, wait, you're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say that.
But anyway, so then I did it. And then I said, oh my God, I don't even know the names of his favorite orchids. Is it honohono, which is a Hawaiian word? So that was my question. And then yesterday I thought, oh my God, the class is tomorrow. So I took off one shoe. These are, when I was traveling for a month, I never wear shoes. Okay. In Hawaii, you only wear slippers. And my feet suffered so bad. So in training myself for the next trip, I'm making myself wear shoes every day. So I took off one shoe and I drew my feet, and I have an owie here. It's like a blister. So it's sort of silly. It's not nature drawing, but I'm so intimidated by the process that I have to just have, it's almost like a diary of, okay, ding, what are you doing now? Draw it. So I'm sorry. That's why I can't I didn't know about tablet. I'll start uploading my silly drawings, but I didn't know about it.
Awesome. And thank you for sharing, because that was a great reminder. If you're intimidated, if you don't know what to draw your foot, draw your cat. Do it. There's no good. And also, thank you for the reminder. All of us need to say out loud right now, you never apologize. Do not apologize for your drawings. Never, ever say they're bad. You're going to throw that out, throw it out the window. No, we're going to practice that. Coming up, you're going to practice. I'm going to pair you up with people and you're going to practice getting complimented, and you're going to say thank you when someone says that's a really great drawing, because that was a really great drawing. And you're going to learn to say thank you, because it was. The only bad drawing is the one you didn't do. So awesome. Thank you. And it will get easier. This is hard stuff. Honestly, it is. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't stress out. Don't worry about it. But if you are feeling stressed, contact me. Yeah, let's talk. So we've got Daisy. Let's see, one more comment, and then we probably need to wrap up. But
I wanted to respond to something Diane said. It was a great reminder to me during a nature journaling conference that humans are part of nature. We are animals, and our cats are animals. So I do a lot of human man-made interaction journaling. And I've drawn my foot when I had an owie. So we are part of nature.
Thank you for that reminder. And next time I'm going to come with some great quotes. I'm reading Robert McFarlane right now, his book, Landscapes. And he has some really important things to say about how we view ourselves in nature, and the importance of not separating ourselves from here we are and then we go to nature. It doesn't work that way. So we'll cover that next time, or I'll share it in an email maybe, or on the Padlet. So share your stuff on Padlet. It's fun, easy. It's not social media, so it's completely safe. Yeah, so thank you, everybody. And don't forget, let's see, next week is as a reminder, I've completely lost my, where am I? Next week is
Week 4.
silence the critics and make connections. So next week is when we're going to practice, or not next week, but next session. So you have 2 weeks to do. Silence the critics. So we're going to learn how to graciously say thank you, and then how to make connections. And that includes with each other. And then tricks and tools is another fun chapter. And then we'll dig into color. I know some of you are already jumping into color, but we'll get into color in a few weeks. So, but in the meantime, get in touch if you have any questions or concerns. So I hope you have a good couple of weeks, and I think we'll have Thanksgiving. So enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Oh, right. Yes, you too.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I really enjoyed
Thankful for the class.
seeing everybody on Padlet. I've enjoyed looking at everyone's
don't-
Padlet.
Yeah,
Be
that's
sure to
fun.
go on Padlet's fun, and to make them big, just double click on one of them and it makes them big across the whole screen. And then you can just scroll through left to right or right to left and see, and go ahead and you can post ahead of time or post within the go back. And then I've been putting resources in there too. So someone asked about leaf nomenclature. If you didn't find anything on the internet, I put a PDF in there of
In
leaf.
that first column, in the first column, is that?
Yeah, I think I did. Let me double check that if I didn't, I'll do it. I meant to. Okay, let's see, just let me make sure I did it. No, I uploaded it and I forgot to put the link, so I'll do that shortly. So
Okay.
I'll put that in just a moment. So it's on the tutorials page on my website, and I'll just put that link there.
Oh, I see. Okay. It's not on the Padlet.
It will be in a moment.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So
And
Super.
I agree with Jill. I'm thankful, very thankful for the class. So all of and Roseanne.
great. So great. This is really fun. It's good for me too. Gets me out there. See, I just did a simple entry on Friday. Nothing big, just writing. One little bug.
Good.
Yes, I want to thank you for the class too. I almost didn't come, and I'm sure glad I did because it was great.
Oh,
I-
good. So
it was great. So thank you.
good.
That's awesome.
Great. Okay, everybody, get out there and journal. Don't make it stressful though. Just journal. Draw your foot. Okay. Bye.
Bye.